Right, thanks for staying with us. It's time for us to have a look at what the papers are saying across Nigeria this morning. And we start with the Standard Times Nigeria. Standard Times Nigeria says, one dead as Yoruba Nation agitators, police clash in Lagos, and the OPC dissociates self. One dead as Yoruba Nation agitators, police clash in Lagos, and OPC dissociates self. All right, let's go to First News. First News says insecurity may stall 2023 general elections. INEC cries out. Says that the polls face serious threat of cancellation if insecurity escalates. The INEC chair assures commission won't leave anything to chances in ensuring adequate election personnel and materials. You see all that on the front page of the First News this morning. Now let's move to the Leadership newspaper. Now, Leadership says rising insecurity, 2023 elections may be cancelled or postponed. INEC warns. Okay, 2023 elections may be cancelled or postponed. INEC is warning here. Now, he says if insecurity is not monitored and dealt with decisively, it could ultimately culminate in the cancellation and or postponement of the elections. That is the warning INEC is sending out right now ahead of time. That's the Leadership newspaper. Now let's go to Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune says security threat to next election real. INEC is saying this. Security threat to next elections real. Says commission leaving nothing to chance. Commission leaving nothing to chance. Now let's go to from Nigerian Tribune, let's go to This Nigeria. And it says, INEC affirms threat to 2023 polls. INEC affirms threat to 2023 polls. If the insecurity is not monitored and dealt with decisively, it could ultimately culminate in the cancellation and or postponement of elections. All right, that's what the statement INEC put out yesterday. All right, that's what we have. Kemi.
Right. It's a different twist for some of the papers I have here. Looking at the Daily Times now, Nigerians must develop strong confidence in government security agencies. Now, this is according to President Muhammadu Buhari, who was speaking at an APC rally in Adamawa State. The Nation also has a similar slant there. The big story there reads, why Nigerians should vote Tinubu Shetima by Muhammadu Buhari. Of course, speaking at that same APC rally in Adamawa State ahead of the elections. The Punch is next, and the big story there is on cash limits, saying customers protest as banks begin enforcement. Customers say policy will affect cash-based businesses, demand fresh review. While bank ATMs dispense old notes despite CBN's directive, new note scarcity persists. This and more on the front page of The Punch. Let's check out Nigerian News Direct now. Fuel importation regime to end by the fourth quarter of the year 2024. That's according to the federal government, who is set to also eye a contribution of Port Harcourt and Dangote refineries. In the meantime, the federal government says it has no control over rising price of kerosene and that the Nigerian Petroleum Corporation Limited is still government-owned. This is on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. Another business slant there is on Business AM. Experts say capital markets great for states. And local government finance proposed capital market funding to sustain subnational government financing. Finally is Business Day. It says MTN, UBA, and others make analysts 2023 stock picks. This is on Business Day. And that's it from my end.
Okay. The story on the INEC, talking about INEC raising alarm about insecurity is a thing of concern to a lot of Nigerians. And from that statement yesterday, it was made, a lot of persons have taken to their Twitter handles to react to it. calling on government to do everything they can because the stakes are really high for the elections, where if the elections are cancelled, there are going to be a lot of implications within there. If it is postponed by a month, maybe or two, of course, you can still redeem a lot of things. But the moment you alter the cycle of things, sometimes you have bloodlines here and there. But the point there is, everything boils down back to assuring Nigerians that the cycle, which is what guarantees the democracy that we practice, everything is intact. Now, if you look at the attacks on INEC offices across the country, especially the latest, in December, we're talking about the attacks in Imo State, and so on, where the INEC Commissioner for Education, Festus Okoye, came to say that if the attacks continue beyond the Christmas into the new year, then it could spell doom for the election. And then we have the affirmation here also corroborating that as well.
That thought also passed through my mind when one thinks about the implications of a possible cancellation or postponement of the polls, and the fact that everybody has been, building up to February, March, when the elections are to take place, would definitely create kind of a spanner in the wheels if we get to that point. But I want to believe that if INEC is proactive enough, if its partners are also proactive enough, we should get it right, because we've had all the time to prepare. And yes, these are, real concerns, looking at the attacks, present attacks, lingering attacks on INEC installations. So it's enough to make one worry about what the future will hold and, how this will impact on the forthcoming elections. But the news, we also took that story in our news earlier on in the show, and it was a training. INEC was holding a 2-day training with security agencies, and so all hands are on deck. At least that is what we are hearing, and that is what we want to also read more of, that the police and all other sister agencies will do the needful. How many of these installations do we have in Nigeria? What would it take for all these agencies to spread themselves out and protect, these critical installations? Because it's not just the buildings that are at risk. Yeah. They are critical, materials, election materials that are also inside these buildings that, if care is not taken, we are back to ground zero, and it would take money has been spent already. We would have to spend more, obviously, and the fact that it would just entirely scatter the entire arrangement is enough to make one worry about. Yeah,
I think as of now, the security agencies or agents should have been identifying where the flashpoints, the risk areas are, as it is. Of course, when they put Nigeria on a platform, some states when you put them according to the dangers and the colors of dangers and all of that, some can be in the yellow area, some can be in the orange area, some can be in the red area, depending on the threats that they're receiving. I believe all of that should have been, or they should be doing that right now to get to know where we can conduct election freely, and then where there can be more concern, and then deployment of security agents there, to ensure that elections hold. So I guess all of those, because when INEC says, they're not leaving anything to chance, I believe these are some of the collaborations.
Absolutely. They should, because the pressure is more. People need to feel safe to come out.
Exactly. In fact, that feeling of safety is very important and critical. And knowing that monies, INEC budgets have all been, approved ahead of time, INEC has to do everything to justify that, and in working together with security agents and Nigerians as well. All right, we have to leave you here now. We look forward to how things will pan out as we get along.